Well, I'll let you know something. I recorded a video and it didn't record anything. Apparently, I got the air conditioner on and my phone's still overheated. So I did a good video. Extremely good video. And it didn't record. Everything happens for a reason. I'm gonna give it a second go. But I don't put too much thought into my videos. So I was in a very, very certain flow. But there's a couple of points that I want to actually cover that are very, very important. And that's the topic of like sex and making love. And also when it comes down to the topic of sex and love, and when it comes to the topic of like the religious order, head of the household and whatnot. What I'm gonna do, so I got my work phone over here. What I'm gonna do is hit record on this one just in case, and if I have to go back to check something, I can always do that. But here's the thing: whenever there's a lot of people I've spoken to, and they're not really super content in their relationships. It's more or less like they're with each other for comfort and security. It's more or less like instead of being in a thriving state, you're in a surviving state. And both of these people are in a very weakened, disbalanced, toxic feminine state. Because the feminine energy is a very strong energy, but it relies on survivability, right? And the whole thing is that a lot of times there will be certain girls, like women or whatnot, that are with a guy because they're financially providing for them, right? And this financial providing is sort of evil in a way, right? Because since I just told you the feminine energy is there for survivability purposes, they're there for the simple fact that you could provide for them. But the moment that you wouldn't be able to do that, you'd probably be replaced, unfortunately. Because that's not true fulfillment. See, the girl thinks she's being fulfilled, and then the guy who's providing monetarily will feel like he has a certain entitlement to tell this woman that she has to submit to him and be subservient to him, right? And when you look at this religious order, this order only comes from religion, right? But if you look at this fulfillment in the physical, you're fulfilling her with monetary and physical things. That's like luxuries of life, right? Luxury, you get the word lux, the measure of light, lux. But it's a false light. It's not the real light. So a woman is with this guy because she's able to be secure in the form of the luxuries of life. So right now, man is creating robots, AI. And I said that the further away you get from God is due to the fact that you're going closer and closer to technology. There's nothing wrong with technology. You know what I'm saying? There's really nothing wrong with technology. It's misused. It's just like your body. Your body's misused as well. Your body was designed to be used as what it is, the latest and greatest piece of technology, but you don't know yourself. So now you use the creativity to build robots to do these things for you outside of you. Sort of like you stay more in the physical because that's the left brain way of thinking. So you're no longer able to build pyramids, monoliths, these great structures, travel the cosmos from the comfort of your own sofa. You have to build rockets to physically go there. There's all physical stuff that you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with it because, you're here to enjoy the physical realm. You get what I'm saying? You're here to enjoy the physical realm. There's a lot of spiritual people who want to demonize the physical realm and talk about how much people are doing something to you, but in actuality, you're doing it to yourself. See, the mind is all, the universe is mental. And when you look at this physical realm, you created and designed it. You don't have awareness. You are creating and designing the very oppressors you're actually pointing and demonizing the fingers at. So here's the the scenario we're talking about. When you're born into this planet, you know how they tell you that to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to be childlike. It's funny how they tell you the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? And when you're born into this planet, aren't you coming into this planet as a child already to begin with? So to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to be childlike. You can't come into this physical realm unless you're a child, but you become aware up until a certain state. Okay? I want you to pay close attention to this, because this is actually super important, and why society is going backwards and why they say man's in a fallen state. Okay? This religious order wants you to have women just like robots, where they don't think for themselves, but because man doesn't know himself. So this order goes Christ and man, man over woman, woman over the children. Or it could be Christ over man, man over woman, woman over the children, right? This is not supposed to be looked at as a hierarchy where one is bigger than the other. See, that's egotistical. Your ego wants to look at it that way. You get what I'm trying to say? Like when you look at nature, the sun is, everything revolves around the sun, right? So the sun has order over the chaotic natures of the feminine planet called Earth. Okay? And you also look at the above, you got the moon, right? And we'll get into with the moon. But you notice how a man, when he's providing this woman with these luxuries, right? That's the false light. You don't have to have any of these luxuries. If you truly knew what a man was, and you can light this girl up in ways she's never been lit up before, you will literally turn her on. All right? But because you learn to turn yourself on first. See, the whole thing is, with these relationships that we're talking about, we start to ask ourselves, what's going on here? We say the woman, with a man, for example, having sex with a woman. Okay? You can have sex and you can make love. What's crazy is that a lot of red pillars will tell you, and I'm going to get into all the stuff that I'm talking about with the planets and whatnot. But a woman, when certain people are having sex with a woman or their partner, their wife or their girlfriend, whatever it may be, you're already getting married. See, that's basically mixing the waters. See, the word marriage means water. It comes from maritime admiralty law, which is the law of water. You have the marina. You have Mary, where basically Jesus was born out of, right? Moses means drawn out of the water. You notice how all these people are all coming out of the water, right? Jesus was born out of a Virgin Mary. So we'll get into that also as well, because when you look at the Virgin Mary, she was never touched physically, right? You would look at what we actually are here on the planet. We're the embodiment of Jesus Christ, or the idea that's given to you in a story that you're literally supposed to take as allegories, but you're basically an idea. You can conceive ideas here in this planet, right? You can also discard ideas. You can adopt ideologies, right? Just like you adopt a child, conceive a child, right? It's crazy how we say these things, right? But Jesus is an idea, okay? It's a good idea for the interest of profit for the planet and control for the patriarchy. The patriarchy basically wants control. This is the masculine, right? This is the light. Back in the day, we had accounts of witches being burnt at the stake. Okay, and that's because they were able to manipulate reality. With that kind of power, that would be the symbolism of people overthrowing government. Okay, because government is basically your daddy. You know, they provide for you. You look up to them. You vote to put somebody in power to look over you. You know what I'm saying? This goes all the way down to religion and whatnot. A woman, should she be submissive to the man? Okay, well, I want to tell you how this is actually the blind leading the blind. See, when a man, for example, wants to serve God, worship God outside of him, which is a man, because it's always used as a he, and the fact that you're using a he, you already diminish his power anyway. So he's nothing but a human, right? So you're following another human, you're worshiping another human, and you doing this bleeds into you worshiping and following government and all that, and it goes down the line. If you're doing this, you truly don't have Christ in your heart. You don't have the light in you. And if you don't have this light in you, the feminine energy cannot be submissive to you. They can't. Mankind is lost. And I'm going to tell you why. The woman in darkness seeks the light, right? And the way that they're seeking the light here is through luxuries, the physical. And that's why they're never fulfilled. But the woman is supposed to be searching for this light within herself first. And that's also being guided by her father. And if there was no father, then obviously man is supposed to teach, especially in schools, to these children in elementary school, which, you know, man comes from the soil, he dies, it goes back to the soil, is to teach the children about the elements, to teach them about their body and how it actually works. When you look at the Bible, it tells you that man is the head of the household, husband, wife. It's funny how you got the word Wi-Fi comes from the word wife, comes from the word Wi-Fi, right? And we use this frequency to manage technology, to be able to get answers by looking through Google goggles, which is basically what's happening here. You tap into the motherboard, type in some stuff, and you decipher some things, and it gives you the information in that way. When in actuality, you can use these goggles, the ones that you have right here, that you're looking in the physical realm for, put your feet on the soil, tap into Mother Planet, and with the chemistry of the sun, life force frequency, not the Wi-Fi, but the life force frequency, I mean, you can basically have an understanding that this is all you. And you're not gonna think you know that you have information. You're gonna know what your information is. You know, you're gonna remember these things because it's all you. You know, we got all these things where we start to talk about let's say generational curses and whatnot. Man needs to know himself, right? And this is why the Bible tells you, man, know thyself. Okay, so let's talk about husband. Husband means householder. Okay, so head of the household. It's funny because we got the word head. Head is here, right? The church would be basically, the body of the church is the woman. The head is the man, right? You don't notice that how they tell you that your body's a temple? Your body being the church, your body holds emotion. Suppose you want to do stuff here in the physical realm, but you got negative programming that goes against that. Your body won't respond to your ideas, and you'll stay stuck in negative patterns, negative thought patterns. But because your body being an instrument of the mind, you'll notice that when we were talking about the moon, you notice how the sun, people used to sun worship back in the day because the sun would give light to the planet. And, you know, that planet, the sun, has order over the chaotic natures of the feminine planet. And in kind, it actually, the moon has the light source of the sun reflected back on the planet as well. But you notice how everything plays its role, right? Everything's perfectly square and balanced. When you look at the moon is funny because the moon, if you look at it, I came across this information, I thought it was very interesting. But when you flip the moon is upside down, right? But you can only see one side of the moon. All crevices, all the craters, and all the, you know, shapes of it is actually a mirror image of this earth. And it's funny how the sun lights up this reality, but the light reflected off the moon, all right, is given by the sun, and that feminine is reflecting it back to the earth. And why is that important? Because when you look at the word moon, it comes from the word luna, and you have the word lunatics that come out of that. The lunatics come out at night, and you don't notice how that's actually very important, because if you're a gardener and you're planting when the moon is full, is when you actually have a better chance of things thriving, because you planted it in the full moon. Now, you also have something very interesting that happens where the tides rise, and you know, the moon has a certain magnetic effect, right? And I have always said that women are attractive, women are magnetic, men are more electric. They're more of a push out giver, and the women are more of a receiver. It's kind of like the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind just receives, right? The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real or a fake experience. It's just going to receive. So it's actually very obedient to you. So even if you're giving it negative thought patterns, it will give you what you want. But it's running under a certain program. And if you want to change it, you would have to impress the subconscious mind, right? Kind of like when you try to impress a girl for her to basically give you game back. So anyway, you notice how the moon tends to affect your emotions because your body's made of water too. And I told you it has an effect on the tides rising. But your body is made of water. Your body's made of the same elements as the planet. So you notice how certain emotions, certain things tend to rise up, right? And if you don't know yourself, you start to point fingers, you start to blame things outside of you, when in actuality, this is basically your body showing you something. And it's like, it'll manifest as people, places, and things. And instead of demonizing them, you could actually look at them as blessings in disguise. And with that awareness, which is God, you'd be able to channel this emotion toward transmuting it to something that's going to be beneficial for you. And if it's beneficial for you, guess what? You're a service to other people outside of you as well. Because it's funny how I just mentioned the mind, the subconscious mind. There's something very interesting called the nervous system. And this is basically the energy that you're channeling to basically cater to your experience in life. And if your nervous system is shot because you got weak adrenal glands, and this is due to a lot of fear, emotions that basically store in your kidneys. And why do they store in your kidneys? If you look at it, your adrenal glands sit above your kidneys. And your adrenal glands are responsible for fight or flight. You produce some corticosteroids to get you to go stronger, faster, certain adrenaline to basically make you, to have you survive, right? And when you don't have this in order, you know what happens? Spiritually, you won't be able to channel a higher frequency of energy as well. You ever try to work with certain deities, like let's say deities of a very high caliber, and you're trying to channel this deity, and you notice that when your nervous system is shot, your adrenal glands are weak and whatnot, you won't be able to hold this charge. You'll actually start to have too much of a heart racing, and panic starts to kick in, and you get scared, and you might just come out of it. Things like that happen, right? So here's the thing when it comes down to this. The God in man, when man starts to perceive and realize that the God he was searching, or feels like he thinks he's searching outside of himself, is actually within him, the women are going to be more drawn to this man, right? And this is a symbol of power. And the whole thing is that women are drawn to men with power, meaning money, but these are women who are basically, they don't know themselves. They don't know the light within themselves, so they look for this outside of themselves. And this is a manifestation of the feminine energy. It's all symbolism, though. That woman is a symbolic representation of what mankind is like overall. So because man has this system designed in the interest of a profit, and man doesn't realize that this system is all distorted, they are trying to force women to be submissive and subservient to them. It's almost like again, building sex robots with no way of thinking or anything like that. They can't think for themselves, and you just kind of force these things on them. It's the same way that man is following. So here's the thing. You're expecting the woman to trust and be guided by you because you're providing money for them. It's like, so you expect them to have blind faith in you the same way you have blind faith in a God outside of you that they're still debating if it's real or not. And it's not even where we have to use science or the laws of logic or anything in any kind of way to prove this. It's not even about that. A little common sense and mental maturity will have you realize that if you think critically, you'll start to realize that. First, ask yourself, what is bad and good? Who is the arbiter of that? And where does all this even come from? Where does anything you know come from? You get what I'm saying? Let's talk about the whole what happens where your energy goes to begin with if you don't know yourself. You have a partner, right? You're having sex with her. They say that the women actually take your energy when you're having sex with them, and that's not even true. The only way that you can have this energy circulate is when you're actually making love. See, sex is a physical act, right? You're on top of this girl, and a lot of times in these relationships I hear that men aren't like really satisfied with their girl, but the girl stays with them for security purposes. But if you look at this, men are having sex on top of their girl, or whatever position, whatever it may be, and they're thinking about another girl, a porn star, let's say, somebody that gets their rocks over, whatever fetishes they have in their mind. So they're not even fully present physically with their women. So where's that energy that's very powerful, that vitality going? You're not fully present with her. It's a physical act, yet you're not fully present with her. Your mind is somewhere else. It's not going toward the girl. You get what I'm saying? The energy physically would be where you use literally all your senses. You're fully present with her. You're seeing her. You smell her, the scent of a woman, right? The sound, everything. Just the way she moans. You know what I'm saying? Everything in general. I mean, the energy, everything, just physically, what she looks like. You know, are you turning her on? The facial expressions, everything, just, you know, put all those five senses into play, and you'll see that you're actually making love. The woman will feel this. Has nothing to do with how you perform in bed, but she will feel you because you're gonna light her up. And here's the thing, though: when you're making love, that energy is it's like circulating. When you're making love, you're making God. You're making harmony. You know what I'm saying? What is God? God is the glue that holds everything together. So you are creating harmony. That's called magic, right? When you're having sex with somebody, you're just basically having sex. Like the word sex. What is the sex of that animal, male or female? You're having sex, right? It's just androgyny basically occurring, right? It's like you're just masturbating on top of the girl. You're becoming one either way. So you're marrying this person, whether you're making love or having sex. You're marrying this person. That's why people say I have multiple wives or whatnot, because it's all marriages. Because if you really look at the word husband and wife, whatever it may be, it comes from religion. They're just titles. So because you're titled a wife, they tell you that you have to be subservient to a man. And that's the natural order. But if man had this chemistry within him, the man doesn't have to tell the girl to be submissive to him. It's just going to happen naturally, the same way it's happening naturally in nature. The sun, the moon, the earth, everything is naturally happening. So, you know, the sun is not expecting anything in return. It's just doing it. The moon is just happening. Everything is happening naturally in nature. You're a product of nature. So why are we doing things in a distorted way? That's the true alien invasion, right? We believe in God. And what is God? God is an idea. But then people, and we do things for this God, like wars and, you know, have a bunch of chaotic shit happening on the planet in the interest of God, right? Whether it be like one God, you know, warring with another God and whatnot, whatever it may be. But check this out. Money is also a symbol of power that a lot of people have killed family members for. Think about this, though. So women are with men for the security of money, luxury, the physical means of light. You measure lux, right? And God is another idea that means nothing, because money doesn't mean anything either. Money is just paper. It's not backed up by anything. They're just fiat notes. It doesn't mean anything. It's just energy. It's an energy that you align with. It's a frequency that you attract, right? Based on your actions and mental state. So God is just an idea that means nothing as well. You align with this. And some people think they really have power when they align with this idea because the mind made it really real. Money is a very real thing. It has a lot of power. It makes you walk differently, makes you think different. You have to think a certain way for you to even have this kind of power in your pocket or in your bank account. In fact, it bleeds out of you so much that even shark can smell this blood and be attracted to you in the form of women, right? When you have spiritual currency, it's the same way. You have attractions of a certain kind, and then people say that they are gang stalked, whatever it may be. But gang stalking can come in many, many different ways. You know what I'm saying? These attacks are self-inflicted. All these things are self-inflicted. Get ahead and don't pay your credit cards, and you see how many debt collectors are coming after you. And you'll think you're being gang stalked. It's the same thing. What do you give out? Who do you have in debt? How credible are you? What's your credit like? Your credit score, your credibility, right? Your credibility as far as like what you're doing. So the main topics here that I wanted to talk about was the topic of the husband and wife, right? Which are just titles. They're just titles. The person you're with is the person you are. When you are making love to somebody and you truly love this person and you're creating some real powerful magic with this individual, that's you. That means you love yourself. That's all it means. Your chemistry is intact with yourself and you love yourself wholeheartedly. This is why you love your partner, because you love yourself. If you don't love your partner, you don't love yourself, and this will actually bleed into, bad finances because you're not in love with your feminine energy. How do you treat that feminine energy? And in kind for women, how do you treat the masculine energy? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's all a reciprocal business here. It's not pointing fingers at one gender or one sex or whatever it may be. It's a teamwork makes the dream work type of thing. I make these videos for certain people, and literally for myself. And I had to do this video again. I had to do it again because the first one didn't come out. When a man is expecting a woman to blindly follow him is the same way that this Jesus expects you to blindly follow him. And if you serve any other God, he gets very jealous. It's the same thing with men. You expect your girl to be submissive to you and serve you. And if she's doing anything where you would suspect that she's talking to another guy, you get very jealous too. You're a jealous God. A lot of this comes down to shadow work. And I'm going to tell you why. You sit with yourself. These emotions you feel, they're not yours. These traumas you feel, they're not yours. These are generations of, and it's all in your DNA. That's why they say your ancestors, they're all locked up. You wake up every day as Christ. You know what's crazy? When we talk about Christ, the whole resurrection, the whole ascension, you know what I'm saying? The crucifixion, he died in Golgotha. Golgotha is the skull. The ascension, resurrection, all this, we're looking at this basically, symbolically, we live this every single day. You may have a really, really bad day, but the next day could be a really, really good day. You have the chance to be a new person the next day. You notice how the baptism, all that, after you take a shower, you feel like a new man. You just feel like a different vibe because you cleanse your aura. You could do this with water. You could do this even with wind, where you stand outside on a really windy day and let that wind clear your aura. You could even just do this. You know what I'm saying? Clean yourself out without touching your skin. You're cleaning your aura, but you have an intention behind it. You take a shower, you basically are doing this, aren't you? You cleaning your aura, you cleaning yourself out. Have an intention. When you sit down and take a shit, let all that negativity pile up in the shit that you're about to fucking let out, and let that steamy, hairy shit just fucking fester there and just, put all the negative shit there and flush it down the toilet. You know what I'm saying? Have intentions. That's you walk around like you're the god of this realm, and you are. Like, things will mold and bend and shape to you, but because you are the one that's taking the action to do so. Everything that we're looking at here as far as chemistry, we are looking at it symbolically. You wake up every day, you're basically ascending from the death realm, but on a light level. That's why they say sleep is the cousin of death. When you're sleeping, you have the chemicals and elixirs produced on a lighter level than when you're dead, but it's very similar. When you just died, you still have the same physical brain activity. Certain elixirs are produced, except when you die, it's the same process, but it's flooded in a bigger amount, and you still go through a process. And in that process, I mentioned in the last video that if your mind is not straight, you're going through certain psychoactive experiences in that state, right? And you'll start to follow things that you believed here, like that you're gonna see, like Jesus Christ, that you're gonna see your dead ancestors and whatnot, and they're gonna guide you right back through a certain cycle. But because your awareness is not there. See, at what point do you stop chasing light and become the light, right? I've already told you about how the feminine energy has this light reflected off of the masculine. We look at this through the sun. We're looking at the mirror image through the feminine energy in the sky, because that moon is the mirror of the earth, and the light is reflected off the sun. Are you aware that everything that we're going through here is all symbolically happening every single day? You have 7 days of the week. God created the world in 7 days. 7th day of rest, Sunday. All businesses over here are closed because it's a very religious state, right? But you wake up every morning and you go to bed every night. You're literally dying and ascending again every day. And you will have everlasting life as long as you follow Jesus, and as long as you keep recycling back in here. You have everlasting life, everlasting reincarnation, everlasting recycled energy and consciousness back here, because you don't know anything other than the physical, because you haven't overcame the feminine energy, which is this physical realm. You haven't overcame humanity, and you weren't born again of the Father. So think about it carefully, right? You come into this realm as a baby, and the moment you become aware, doesn't it feel like when you just appear in a dream, that you don't remember you were born, you never die, but you just wake up, and in the dream you're just there. You just appeared there. Here is similar. You just don't remember when you were born, right? I know there's certain accounts of people saying that they remember when they were in the womb of their mom. Let's talk about the shadow work part. This is the part that I actually left off. These things that trigger us, these things that keep popping up in our life, these are the things we work through. And you free your ancestors, because you're really freeing yourself. These burdens you carry, they're not yours. They're ancient. And it's almost like you have a team rooting for you. And the more you can overcome these things that make you feel fearful or doubtful, and you're born here abundant, but you were given a bad idea, but you have this real deep desire and urge to be abundant, then be abundant. Strive for that if that's what your calling is, because that's what your ancestors want to experience. But your ancestors are all here now. They're all here now. This whole a lot of people having past life regressions and whatnot, you're just tapping in to something that is happening now, is happening right now. See, whatever happened yesterday doesn't exist, and it's all always happening right now. You're not going back in time. You're just bringing something here into the now, and you're experiencing something as far as like whatever blueprints or programs were fed from anybody here in this planet. It's almost like, I'll give you an example. If you have a God that nobody knows and was never mentioned, here on the planet. Nobody knows. But the moment one person becomes aware of it, but nobody else knows about it, it exists. It exists. So suppose there's people in power here. They tapped into knowing what a real true God is, but nobody knows what this God is. The only way that you can gain its power is by knowing its name. Right? Are you, and this person, supposed that they died with this name. Never told anybody on the planet. They're the only one out of the trillions of people on the planet. He or she is the only one that knew the name of this God. But if this person told anybody else, or the planet knows this God, this system would collapse. This would cease to exist. Right? Because man would actually have a recognition through the name of this God. Because if this God, for example, Jesus Christ, was the real God, and the Bible was the most valuable book on the planet, then why is it free everywhere? Why you could even read it in jail? You could even read this book in jail. It's free. You could see it anywhere. And they got so many different versions of it too. They're going to even have a Queen James version for the gay people. But think about it. Wouldn't it be the most hidden, most valuable book on the planet? Right? But it's known everywhere. And the name Jesus Christ, there's even a few names that are thrown out there, like Yahushua, Yehudi, Yashua, whatever it is, whatever name you want to come out with, different versions of that name. Zeus, Jesus, Zeus. And you think you have some type of like information that is over on everybody else. But you just intellectually learned this from somebody else. No different than somebody just getting information from a book that was written like by man, the Bible. And man distorted and changed all these books, even omitted certain books from this Bible. But anyway, let's get back to it. Let's suppose like this person died with that name. Would anybody in this planet know that name? That, I'll tell you right now, that person that died with that name is actually you. And if you tapped into yourself, deep into the abyss, okay, and with an intent truly knew what you wanted to know, you would actually get granted that information, even though the person died with that information. This is why people are, tapping into past lives and whatnot. It's just, you're just tapping into yourself. Things that other people may have experienced is still yourself. So suppose you tapped in as a pilot, but you were never really a pilot. You were never really a pilot. You just tapped into a reality that's still you, but it wasn't you at the same time. It's just like everybody's having their individual experience here. And I say these are mirror reflections and versions of yourself. They're still their individual person. Even the people you really dislike, they're still them. You know what I'm saying? You're not them, but you are, right? They're versions and mirrors of you, right? But in order for you to have an experience here in this planet, you have to have your individuality. It's just like this realm is ran on polarities. You couldn't exist here if it wasn't ran on polarities. That's why I said this realm is ran on chemistry. You have to have chemistry. The chemistry has to work also. If it doesn't work, you wouldn't even be here. Your mom and dad had to have chemistry to be able to create your goofy ass. So I think that's where I'm going to end this video. There was a few things that I covered in the last video. I just don't remember. I would have to go back and look at it. But as far as like the sex part, are you making love to your wife? Do you love your wife? Do you love your husband? Or do you just masturbate on each other? Are you just putting up with each other because of security, money, which is basically the same way that feminine energy just is all about survivability. The masculine energy, right, plays the supportive role, the head of the house, right? The women have a head, right? And what's funny is that if a woman is also a householder, the same way she's also a husband, she has to marry herself within herself to find a good man. You get what I'm saying? And that's through her awareness. There's not something that a woman can't do that a man can. In the physical, yeah, a man is stronger and can do things that a woman can't do. But trust me, a woman has things that men cannot do. And that's coming from a metaphysical state. And the power of emotions is actually the engine of magic, which is funny, right? This is why women were able to manipulate reality for men when they were working together. But everything's symbolic here. This is women being able to channel what they are, the manifestation of feminine energy. That's how they manifest it as femininity. In the physical form is what you look at as a woman, a kind of man in a feminine energy, negative form, right? In order for the omnipresent God to exist, the devil has to exist, right? Why would you follow something good? How would you know it's good if there's nothing bad to contrast it against? The only reason the devil exists is to be able to put God in a position where you're there to follow God. Men are the manifestation of God. Women are the manifestation of Satan and the devil. But it doesn't mean that they're evil or bad. The devil is, the word devil is lived backwards. The word live is evil. You hear what I'm saying? And that's just inverted. They're just the opposite of what a man is. And they say, and you know what's funny? How you say, according to the law of attraction, like attracts like. It's because the law of attraction is a mirror. That's all it is. The law of attraction is a mirror. Like attracts like. But how do opposites attract, right? How do opposites attract? And when they do attract, what are you creating? A frequency. That's why when you put one versus the other, look at the word verse in the middle. You get a verse as a frequency. But what frequency are you guys on? And a frequency is what? A level of vibration. And your vibe attracts your tribe. That's where they say like attracts like. Do you know yourself? If you know yourself, you know your woman, you know your people. How could you lead a nation? You can't have fear or doubt in your heart. The only time that fear and doubt exists is when there's unknown. And why is there unknowns? You don't know yourself. Life is actually beautiful, to be honest with you. But life could be a bitch because life is feminine, right? Little by little, if you start to sit with yourself and ponder on life, but not even life, ponder on death also. And you'll start to notice the chemistry that's happening within you. What starts to arise. You could even do this through certain times, either through the day or at nighttime, whatever floats your boat. And you're not going to get the answers in human form, but you're just going to know and they present themselves in mysterious ways, just like God communicates in mysterious ways. This is an important topic. And the reason it's very important is because life runs on chemistry. You got to leave the pseudo shit, the woo-woo shit aside. You know what I'm saying? The ultra physical shit. But think critically. Like think, but really think. Mental activity doesn't constitute thinking. Like really think about these things. Just ponder, meditate. You know what I'm saying? And think about your body. Like sit with your body. And manage your thoughts like a CEO of a business. You're managing these thoughts. And write things down. That's all I got for this video. It helps when you like, because you're liking yourself too. It does help my channel out a lot. Subscribe. We will talk soon.